Nice to meet you all. Guys, the movie was absolutely awesome. I had a great blast watching it and shed some tears as well. First, I'm going to ask Mika. I wanted to find out what it was that drew you to this project and the character of Brooke and how it resonated with you personally.
Um, the movie, I guess just the project as a whole really felt like super reminiscent of all the movies that I grew up watching, like, the coming of age 80s, 90s comedies that I loved in my childhood. So I was like, okay, this would be really thick to do. Um, and also Adam having written it and being set to direct it, like that's always great. I mean, I feel like it just in his, sorry, my cat's doing shit. In you could see it like written on the page how like how strong of a vision Adam had, and so like that's always very comforting going into something. And so I was like, oh, that'd be really great. This seems like a very stress-free thing to do. And then in terms of Brooke, I don't know, I've kind of been saying that like Brooke read as like a much cooler version of myself. And so I was like, like the coolest version of me that I could possibly be. So I was like, oh, this also seems like something really fun. And I hadn't really played a character like so similar to myself in my adult life. So yeah, I guess all those kind of things. It just seemed like things were just gonna work out well. Like it just seemed like everything was gonna go smoothly. And like I knew like the sentiment that Adam was trying to share. And like I knew where Brooke was coming from. So I was like, I don't know, this just seems like personal to me as well.
No, that's amazing. Absolutely amazing. Adam, I'm gonna ask about your influences when you were writing this because you took us back to 1991 and these guys get to experience the look and feel of 1991 there. Like, what was that process like for you to see that? Like, that must have been amazing.
Because the so much of it was based on actual things that had happened in my childhood. I took like note cards and I just put them all over my wall, and I had all of the things that I wanted to try to include in the script that I thought were like fun tidbits from when I grew up with my best friend. So some of the things like jump on our bikes into the pool, or you'll see real beer, or fuck dogs. Like all of these things were actual things. The gambling at the racetrack and
Oh,
all of it. These were smoking cigarettes with my friend, getting caught, like all of those types of things. So it started out on note cards, and I just was like, it was like highlights of things that like were bullet point things that stuck out in my mind. And then I spent a great deal of time stitching together like a narrative that would work, that would still encapsulate all of those little things that are very sensory for me that I could remember, and then hopefully pass on to Mika and Connor, and Gabe and Nick, is sort of, just this sensory experience. And we actually shot in my hometown, so they were able to pick up on the vibe, that small town life, and how things look and feel there, like really, really quickly.
that's amazing. You can clearly see it in the movie as well. Connor, amazing performance, dude. Uh, gave me tears, made me laugh. There's a scene that had me cracking up, and I don't know how you probably kept a straight face when the parents go into the auction mode. How was that experience for you? Because that was hilarious on the screen.
Insane, honestly. Every scene that I did with Jillian Vigman and David Costable was just as crazy as it turned out on screen. It was quadruply crazy on set. I mean, the takes that didn't get used were probably unusable because of how insane Jillian is in the best way. I mean, yeah. There were ones that I think we were all just laughing. I mean, we knew it wasn't going to be in the movie, and Adam would just let it run, and we would just be like, "All right, we're just letting this is just pure entertainment," and we were just going through it. It was so fun. It was wild. I learned a lot, honestly. Jillian is an improv master.
That's absolutely brilliant. Because going back to Adam, when there's some of the scenes with Gabe and Connor, you're like, do you let them rip and let them just go for it?
No, the everything is scripted. No, I mean,
It's
and
really
then
good.
it's in a good way. They're both of them are not real improv actors. They're not. I don't think. I mean, at least at this point in their careers, I don't think that they've messed with it all that much. And it's a specific thing if you're going to do that. People like Jillian, I worked with Mary Lynn Ricegove on the last film. Those are seasoned improv actors, like Second City, Annoyance, like they show up and they can just riff and do that. I think for Snack Shack, everything was very scripted, as was Dinner in
Wow.
America.
That's insane because it comes off really well on the screen. So like the relationship between Brooke and AJ,
It's a
like some of
testament
those
to their
scenes.
acting. That's a
Yeah,
testament to
exactly.
their acting. But no, I like the control of the page, and I write with a specific rhythm in mind for everything, and editorials kind of the same way. But yeah, there was very little between my last two films, very little improvisation. The previous two films,
Wow.
complete improvisation, no script on either of the two that I did prior. So different ways, different work. I love improv. I really do. I could do
Yeah.
things with just bullet points and no script. I'm fine with that. But for both of these films, they were very scripted and followed to a T.
Wow. It came off screen, looked like it was great fun. And like my other question to all of you was like, there are moments in this movie where it hard hits as well because of the coming of age story as well and learning new things. What would you like the audience to take from that? I'll start with Brooke.
From the
The
like,
message of the story as well.
yeah, I think it's just that I think it's really just meant to kind of remind you of what this like weird turbulent time when you're a young adult or a teenager is like, you're like having your first crush, you're falling in love for the first time, you're figuring out how to navigate your personal relationships with your friends and how to set boundaries and becoming an individual. And it's a crazy time because your like parents are still in the mix, and so that's a whole other obstacle that you have as a teenager that you don't really have when you're older. And so I think it's just like I feel like we've all forgotten what it really was like to be 14 or 15 and just how like horrible and awkward but also really great it is. So yeah, I think it's just like it definitely made me think about a lot of those like relationships and friendships that I had in high school. And so I think that's just kind of reminding you of how important that time of your life was and how important those people were.
No, that's cool. And apologies, I called you Brooke, Mika. My bad. Adam, your take on the
Uh,
messaging?
I mean, as an artist, like when people leave the theater and it sparks a dialogue about their own childhoods, that's the biggest gift for me. Like listening to hearing people relate it to their own coming of age experience, like immediately. And it's like this is so universal with summer jobs, first love, first loss. It's a very well-rounded coming of age experience. So when people leave the theater and they're excited to share their own experiences with each other and with me, like if I'm involved in it, that's I guess as an artist, that's
It's amazing.
music to my ears. That's as high apex as it gets. As people see your film and it sparks a dialogue about their own lives and
That's
how they grow.
amazing.
Yeah.
Connor, I'll leave it to you.
Yeah, everything everyone said. I think it's cool to play. I really realized actually after we've kind of gone through some of the release in the States here that there's so much like not I guess you could say beauty, but in like being 14 because it's all that kind of matters. And I think Snack Shack gets to bring the excitement of living in a space where your life matters the most while also throughout the story expanding beyond that. I feel like adult characters have to deal with the rest of the world, whereas in coming of age stories, you get to focus on just that world because it feels at 15. So yeah, you get to be transported.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for your time, guys.
Thank you.
Great movie.